The Nuggets lock in KCP for 2 more years. The Nuggets Summer League team gets another dub, but rookies didn't look so hot in this one. Plus, Donovan Mitchell going to leave the division? All that and more on Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Network, your team every day. We're free and available every day on all platforms. Thanks for making us your first listen. Really appreciate it. Glad to have you with us. If you want to support the show, the best way to do so, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you can join the comment section with folks like Dominique and Damn It Bobby, which is a great name. Damn It Bobby. And more and Jonathan is in here, and Miroslav is hanging out with us today. So make sure to join the YouTube channel so you can catch the show live. We do it most mornings at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. On today's show, we'll talk about KCP's extension. We'll hit up on the Nuggets Summer League, probably the final game where we're expecting to see probably heavy minutes from most of the kiddos. And then the third segment, we'll talk about the Donovan Mitchell rumors, as well as some discussion on where Jamal Murray, in terms of his minutes limit to start the season, might be. All that and more on today's show. My name is Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network, joined by my colleague and friend, Adam Mares. You can find him on Twitter at Adam_Mares. Mares, good morning to you. I saw a TikTok about how fabulous ranking the hottest birds.
I saw that same one. It's funny. Everybody sees the same TikTok. I swear to God, no matter where you are.
And it was great. I was like, oh, I should send that to Adam. I'm glad that you already sent it, so I have to send it to you.
Secretary Bird's an underrated bird, though. I know I don't want to spoil where it came in, but it's a very intriguing bird.
All right, let's start here. So on what's today? Is today Thursday?
Today's Thursday. What is time, man?
Yeah, what is time? We're back from Vegas, and time's still not the same. On Wednesday, Adrian Wojnarowski, shocker, I can't believe Woj got another Nuggets scoop, got word and broke that Kentavious Caldwell-Pope has agreed to a 2-year, $30 million extension with the Denver Nuggets, sources tell ESPN. The deal includes a player option in the second year, so it's really a 1-and-1. It was confirmed by, of course, Clutch Sports CEO Rich Paul. What is your reaction to the extension news?
I think it's great. You kind of, to be honest, I hadn't put a lot of thought into it about what it would be, whether or not I expected him to be extended or what have you. I didn't even ask this question, to be honest. It's probably a question I could have just asked and they'd be like, oh yeah, this is a plan. But it's a great thing that the Nuggets don't have to go into the season sort of holding their breath. Is he going to like it here? Is he going to become disgruntled or this or that? You can go into it and kind of know, hey, we got a guy under contract. We have a couple year shot at this roster. And I think it also points to the belief that the team has in this roster. There are ways Denver can upgrade and add another piece, but you look at it, Jamal Murray, KCP, Michael Porter, Aaron Gordon, Nikola Jokic, Bones Highland. Those guys, at least those top 6 guys, are on the team for the next several years, if you want them to be. I mean, they can of course be traded. That's a lot of guys, and then you have other guys. Hopefully Bruce Brown. He'll be a little bit of a wild card in all of this, but you have a team that you can look at and say we don't have to worry about everything falling apart in one season. All of a sudden, we don't have a full roster and no way to improve it. This is a team that's going to get a 2 or 3 year shot at it, and so I think it's exciting.
Yeah, so Jay in the mentions in the comments section says here, it's 1-1 is nice, but it still feels kind of like a rental. But here's kind of the thing.
I disagree. I don't think 1+1 feels like a rental.
Yeah, so here's what I would say is, and somebody else mentioned the Jeremy Grant deal and how this is different from that, and that's actually like a really good point. One of the things, if you're going to be in their cap limited situation, you don't want to have to be hunting every single year for replacements.
Exactly.
You need, like, if they go through this year and they're like, man, KCP just didn't work out, like it just didn't fit, like for whatever reason, like he just didn't like Denver or he didn't like playing with Jokic or whatever it is. Whatever the problems could be, you have him still on another year with a player option for 2, and that makes him a much more attractive contract to trade for, and you get better return. Versus if he's on an expiring one, if you didn't extend him, you risk having to figure it out next year and then having to pay a lot more for him in free agency. Right. This locks him in now at this number. It gives you a couple of years to make decisions on it. And that way they can figure out whether or not KCP is like the right fit and the core guy, or if they need to make another move. It also helps if in case you're looking at another player, like if you find another player that you're like, we need to replace this guy in the rotation, whether it's Aaron Gordon or Michael Porter Jr. or whoever else, if you're like, we kind of need to go a different direction, because if you say like, why would they do that? I'm just saying, like, a couple of years ago, we would have been like, Gary Harris is clearly part of the Nuggets' future. Well,
Right.
Things change. So having a contract like KCP on the books, I think, helps a lot. And it takes a lot of the pressure off of not having to reconfigure constantly throughout this process. You do not want to be hunting with just the mid-level exception every single year. That's when you run out of room, assets, etc., and you drag yourself down and you become the Los Angeles Lakers.
By the way, I was a little bit concerned that KCP going into a contract year, what do the Nuggets need of him? Not the type of things that players usually want to do in contract years. A contract year, you want to shoot a high percentage. You want to get enough shots up. Now I think the Nuggets can go in and say, hey, we're not sure how many shots you're going to get. We're not sure. Like, we think it's going to be a pretty equal opportunity offense for the role players. Like there's going to be open shots. But if you are through January only averaging 7 points a game and the team is rolling, we don't want you to sit there and go, hey, I am in a contract year. Do you guys mind feeding me some buckets? So this does, I think, alleviate a little bit of that. Not that it was a major concern. KCP is a role player, but I just think it makes it easier for a guy. Look, I thought when Jeremy Grant came here, it was like, oh, the perfect. He doesn't need shots.
Yeah.
And it turns out he had different views. You don't worry about that now where KCP is like, hey, this is my last chance to show people I can score 15 a game. It's like, no, Nuggets don't need that from you.
Yeah, and so I think it was a smart move on both ends. It makes sure that he's got a little bit of stability. He came across to me in the summer interview a little bit like, honestly, like that the instability was kind of bothersome to him. So I think giving him the stability, I think, might be a good thing, to be like, hey, like we traded for you. You're the guy. Like, we wanted you here. And we want to keep you here. We want you to have a home.
I think care about that. Which players do, right? You're almost hinting at it, I think, because of how he talked about having to move cities. You have kids.
Yeah.
If you have kids, especially if you have kids that are school-aged kids, which he does. He has 3 boys. The idea of like not knowing, are you moving, are you staying this or that, like that can put a stress on an entire family. So
yeah, some guys don't care. Some guys are like, they're just hired mercenaries and they love they love the NBA life, and that's how they go. And some guys, especially as they age, they move into different positions, and it really does seem like KCP was very much, and like part of this is probably that KCP was probably pretty upset about being traded from the Lakers, right? Like that's always the ideal, and he signed there and it's clutch, etc. And so being shipped and then shipped again, that probably gets old when it's out of your control, which is again why I think it's one of the reasons I think it's impressive they got the extension done. Like, I think it's impressive they got this deal done in that, like, and here's the other thing, at 15 mil,
it's a premium. I mean, I think do you think it's a fair, like perfectly fair market value?
I think it's a perfectly fair market value for where the cap is.
Yeah.
Like, this is part of the thing, like, I have to remind myself constantly is like, 15 million now is not 15 million 3 years ago. It's just constantly evolving. And so now I'm just like, I guess here's the thing. Nobody's going to be like, wow, they're paying KCP $15 million a year. Everybody's going to be like, yeah, it's a $15 million contract, which is crazy. It's $15 million. But that's where the NBA is.
I know. I think Jordan made $15 million like twice in his career.
Yeah, right?
One other interesting detail to this, Matt, and I'm going to keep taking, people are going to get me annoyed of me saying this, but Kroenke's opened up the pocketbook again. The salary cap that the amount of money they're spending and committing for years to come again is in line with sort of what we have been saying of, we think they're in a spending moment, whatever that's worth. I mean, it just appears to be at this moment they're like, no, it's go time and we're going to spend. And this is another example of that, because you're committing to several years for a role player, by the way. KCP's a great player, but he's not one of the stars. He's a role player, and they're like, no, we're doing it.
I thought of this yesterday when I got my DMVR finisher shirt for Mikko Rantanen in the mail, that I was just thinking about, like, man, like, no matter what I think of the process or these individual decisions, Josh Kroenke was not wrong that if you just look at the results, you're kind of like, okay, they won the Super Bowl and the Stanley Cup, and the Nuggets are in contention.
And they have an MVP.
Yeah. it's hard to, even if you can criticize the process, it is, the results matter too. And so I think that some of that
I'll tell you what,
matters as
even
well.
Arsenal fans are the toughest to please. I don't know anything about European soccer, so take this with a grain of salt. But even the Arsenal fans that always pop up in my mentions whenever I have Kroenke in a tweet, like they just like search Kroenke to like get their pitchforks. Even they're kind of like, I don't know, I'm feeling kind of optimistic right now about this team. So I don't, whatever it's worth, Arsenal fans are more optimistic than at any point in the last 10 years, which isn't saying anything.
Let's take a break.
They're
Let's take a break. We'll come back and we'll hit up. We'll touch quickly on the Nuggets Summer League contest last night. A win.
Oh, actually, real quick. Zamora brings up. I just want to cover all angles. $15 million is important from a trade asset standpoint. Like Denver needs that type of contract to trade. They need that middle type, not a max, not a little, but so I just a good point.
Yep, it's a perfectly tradable contract for sure. So that's. Zamora, as always, is on point. Let's take a break. We'll come back and we'll talk about the Nuggets Summer League team and their game last night. But first, I need to tell you about Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing number of makes and models, it's impossible for your local chain store to carry the parts that you need. Why deal with that entire situation? Why deal with any of that when you can just go to Rock Auto? Just go to Rock Auto. You're going to save time and money. Why choose to spend 30%, 50%, or 100% more for the same parts from a chain store that you can get at Rock Auto? Their prices are reliably low for every customer. You can explore their easy-to-use website today to find the solution for your auto parts needs. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Right, Locked On. And their How'd You Hear Bass box, they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need at rockauto.com. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets, thanks for joining us, making this part of your day. Really appreciate you guys tuning in, making this your first listen. Reminder, if you want to check out the show live and join in the comment section, just hit up the old YouTubes. We're on here most mornings at 10 a.m. Mountain. You can join the chat with folks like Joe, who says Zamora deserves a guest spot sometime. I have to make that happen. Hoopstalks is in here. Leo Clayman's in here. So many folks joining in the chat and putting in good points. Got a great community here in the Locked On Nuggets YouTube chat. So make sure to do that. Also, if you're a business and you're looking for an advertising spot, you want to reach Nuggets fans directly, hit us up. We got advertising spots. Give us that money. Give us that money. Give it to us now. I'm just kidding. But if you want to reach out and advertise on the show, just let us know. We have spots available for you. All right, Adam, last night, the Denver Nuggets took on, in Summer League play, the Los Angeles Clippers. The rivalry renewed with the Los Angeles Clippers. Nuggets get the win 80-75. There's I think a lot of things to come away with. The three guys that we've been highest on, the rookies, did not have great games. Do you want to start with Peyton Watson, Christian Braun, or Kamagate?
We'll get to all of them. So wherever you want to go.
Let's start with Christian Braun. So Braun finishes with 8 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, 3 blocks. The defense continues to be really impressive. He's 1 of 10 from the field and 0 of 5 from 3. The three-pointer has been absolutely absent in Summer League, and they're starting to be a little worried about Christian Braun shooting from Nuggets fans. I don't know what to make of it. I don't know really what to estimate here. I don't know, like Kansas fans are like, yeah, this sounds about right. What is your take on Christian Braun and the shooting woes that he's gone through?
That last part's the most interesting one because I've seen those comments too of this is how he is. He goes really cold and gets really hot. So if that's the case, that's called a streaky shooter. It's not always the best thing to have a guy that is all hot, all cold, kind of like rotates in and out of it. I don't know. His shot hasn't looked good and his confidence hasn't looked good. And those are the two things that, like, you want a shot that has like a good arc on it that you kind of believe goes in. As things have gone on, it almost looks like it's gotten flatter and flatter. And then you can just see that it's wearing on him. And that's the thing that I think I'm most intrigued by is we keep hearing, this guy's a winner, this guy, all those things. Obviously he is a winner. You can't take that from him. But I do want to see, like, it's Summer League, relax. I want to see him continue to attack, continue to take shots. And I just saw a little bit in this last game of hesitancy from him where you thought, okay, it's starting to affect him. You could tell. Yeah,
and I think some of that also might be the schedule in terms, they've had some days off in between, right? So they're not playing every day. But I've seen some guys like they're in Vegas, and so
I don't think that's the case with him. Do you think? I mean, who knows? Who knows?
Who knows? I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I've seen guys get tired, and you know this. Like fatigue is not always a linear thing. It's not always like X happened, so they're tired. It's just like they got tired. I'm not trying to make excuses.
He wasn't out at the Golden Gate. I didn't see him at the Golden Gate. So.
I'm not.
Maybe he hangs out at a different casino than I do.
I'm just trying to imagine someone with the money that these guys make hanging out on Fremont.
I hope one day we're gonna see it.
If it is, it's gonna be Jokic. If anybody's gonna be seen on Fremont, it's gonna be Jokic.
So
all right, so I think my thing with Brown is like I'm fine if you want to be a little concerned about it. I don't think it's like don't worry about it at all. I'm not gonna say that. Like I think it's like look,
it's a data.
Yeah,
point.
it's something. It's a data point. It's just it's not really meaningful until we get like if it's training camp and it's like Christian Braun hasn't looked good. Then that's one thing, but that's probably about more than just the shooting. And if he gets in games, if he's in preseason and he goes 0-5, it's like, okay, this might be a thing. Rookies oftentimes just like don't shoot well. Sometimes shooting is like a multi-year project. And so if he's projected as a 3-and-D guy and he doesn't have the 3, that's going to matter. It just is.
Zeke Naji had terrible summer league reasons, not just one, but the shooting was also part of it where you're kind of like, man, he hasn't shot that many threes in his career. Was he just hot in the season? Then he came back in this season and shot really well again. So again, it is a data point. I don't want to dismiss it, but it is important to me that if you look at what he did last in the game, so 8 points, that's the part, the struggling, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, 3 block shots.
Yeah.
That's a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. He contributed in a lot of ways. Again, love the defense. Love the defense from him, which is really impressive because he's not just like this physically dominant athletic player. He's athletic, but he's not like, he doesn't have like a 7-foot wingspan. Right, so it's like he's just really sound, and he gives good intensity, and his presence. The whole thing about coaches talk about like they need to feel us. I feel like guys have felt Christian Braun defensively throughout summer league, which is good.
Yeah. This is an important point here. He did. Ochai Agbaji went for like 26 points in the following game. Like he shut his buddy down, and then the next game Ochai went off, and then same thing with Brandon Boston, who I was supremely unimpressed with. One of my least favorite players in the league.
You hate that kid.
I just don't like that style of player. So there is something to be said for you can't credit one guy. I think the team has a very good defense. Kamagate deserves some of this because he's a rim deterrent. Peyton Watson's been good. But you do have to give a little bit of credit to the guys that are guarding these people. Christian Braun has I don't want to say he's kind of shut those guys down. I'll say it. He's kind of shut those guys down.
Peyton Watson. All right, 3 of 14 from the field, 9 points, 8 rebounds, just 1 assist. Kind of a bummer. Nobody was really hitting shots. That impacts things, but I'm not sure exactly how many assist opportunities he had. 2 blocks, 3 turnovers. A little bit of the aggressiveness I thought was good. A little bit of a step back game for him in terms of I thought the control was a little bit out of control at times. What was your impression of Peyton Watson?
Well, you said 1 assist as if it was low. I think he only has 2 assists total now in summer league. So he's not really getting assist totals, even though he's had some good passes. Same thing. Here's what I'll say is the first 3-4 minutes of this game was the best that he'd played, and I was like fully ready for the Peyton Watson breakout. And then I don't think he did anything after that. Like the final 37 minutes of the game were pretty unimpressive. I don't know. I now that we have 3 data points with Peyton Watson, it does appear to be coming a little bit more into focus in that he has these. He like Christian Braun does stuff. He just impacts the game in certain ways, but it's not consistent because you see a lack of fundamental. This is different from Christian Braun, but you see sort of the holes in his game that I think keep him from doing it consistently right now. That would be my through 3 game scouting report on Peyton Watson. Is there's some stuff there, but there's a lot of work that's going to go into unlocking that stuff, and that's going to be the story of his next 2 seasons, I would say.
Kamagate plays fewer minutes. He ends up with just 2 points, only 3 rebounds, 21-25. I don't really know what to make of it. What are your thoughts on Kamagate?
Defense was really good. The block shots are part of it. Is they're not. I will say this: he got posted up a couple times in this one in ways that I was a little bit surprised. Like he's been a very good shot blocker, especially as a help side or rim, like kind of rim patrolling. But when he got in post defense in this last game, he got scored on more than I would have expected him to, especially given who he was going up against. But nonetheless, I credit him as much as I credit anyone for sort of Denver's really impressive defense in summer league. Are they the number one defense? I don't know if there's a way to look this up if anybody cares, but they've held teams to like 60, 70 points every single game. And I think it's because they just have all defensive players out there. Offensively, he was pretty silent. And I think that's the game just didn't go to him very much. Like there wasn't a lot of plays where I was like, you got to do something with it. The ball just didn't find him in this game. So I don't know. I'll have to go back and rewatch to know how much I blame him for that, how much was just the flow of the game. But he was, of all the games, this was his most silent on the offensive end.
I do not have advanced stats for Summer League. I regret to inform you.
You don't have that?
I don't have it.
Okay.
So, but yeah, a lot of that. I think credit to Ryan Bowen. I think this team's been really well coached. I think that I've been pretty impressed with how they've looked compared to
the
some
top
other
Summer League coach of the Malone era. I've already declared it.
Yeah, Ryan Bowen, really impressive. So, which is not surprising considering like how long Bowen's been in the league and how long he's been with the team and how much experience he has. But good for him for embracing it and really going after it. So
I like him too. Like he's a good
he's really
coach. I judge Summer League coaches mostly by how they speak to the media after the game. What are we doing here? He's been great, insightful, funny, lighthearted. I like it.
Anybody? I think that the other like really.
Come on.
Yeah, I know. I'm getting to the hardest button.
Is there anybody else?
The hardest button to button, Jack White. 14 points, 6 rebounds. I thought he was great. I thought Jack White was great in 17 minutes. Who do you want to talk about?
Jack White's too good for Summer League, man. Like he honestly might be the best Nugget on Summer League. He's really good. The question is, do you like him as the final two-way? Like, is he that good? Because he is a role player. He's a little bit older. What are your thoughts on him as the two-way guy?
I will say that at this point I like him more than
it's Mitchell and Arms. I don't know if there's anybody else in the running. Maybe Grady.
Yeah, Colin Grady got the Exhibit 10, which I just haven't been impressed by him very much. I just haven't, which I thought was, but maybe like
he's a Mike Miller client.
Yeah, there you go.
And it's Exhibit 10. It's not like they're going.
Yeah, I hear you. I guess for like upside, I would probably like. I don't know if you can feel okay about Jonte. I still kind of like look at Jonte's potential, but the injury stuff I think is real. I do like Jack Johnson a lot, or Jack White. I like Jack White.
We're just gonna give him different.
Yeah, just different medical, just different guitarists. Again, different early 2000s guitarists. But yeah, I like Jack White quite a bit. Is there a guy that you would rather give it to?
It's funny. Like I kind of want all of these guys in the system. Somebody brought it up. I wasn't even thinking about this, but in the DMVR live show, somebody said, would it be nice to have Jonte on the gold team because he plays the most like Jokic and it maybe allows your other guys to get a sense of that? And I thought, hey, you know what? Jonte, there is nobody like Jokic, but Jonte could be G League Jokic. Like, he's a really good passer. He can shoot. He's smart. He's unselfish. So maybe. But Jack White's the guy for me. Mitchell, Arms, neither one of those really like. I know Mitchell shot the ball really well in this game, but I still just don't see what he does for the Nuggets.
Me neither.
I see that he could go and be a good prospect, but I don't know what he does for the Nuggets. Jack White at least is a guy that I feel like I could trust in a Torrey Craig-ish role.
Yeah.
Where it's like really low usage. He does his job. He knows how to play.
Hustle. Yeah, for sure.
But you're forgetting the best player of the entire game and the most exciting one, my favorite. You're just never going to give him any credit.
Hit me up.
He got the Mr. Nugget, former Mr. Nugget, stamp of approval. Monte Morris shouting him out during the game. Colin Gillespie. This guy, I just love his game so much. And he has another banger, I thought. 12 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, 5 of 11 from the field. And then closed the game, basically. He ended the game with like 2 or 3 straight buckets to get out of there. He's just so solid. I feel so good. And seeing Monte give him the stamp of approval, I go, all right. I like it. He's in. He's in the club.
Sitting next to Adam during a Colin Gillespie game is an experience for all of you. I just need you to know, like, the next time that he plays, I may have to like live stream Adam just so that you get a sense for what it's like to sit to him, because he just sat there and was just like, look at this guy. Such like the prototypical, like he's literally muttering under his breath constantly.
He just sees everything. These things I love guys that see everything. I had a clip on the list yesterday where he slides, like he just perfectly times the slide as his guy helps. He slides into the open pocket and then catches with a touch pass. That's one of those where it's like, I saw the rotation, I saw the passing angle, and I saw my next pass all within the span of about half a second.
Francisco knows.
You're not going to make this guy Facu, are you? He's not even short. The
Matt
thing is,
doesn't
he's
like
like
6'.
6. I think he's listed
Okay,
at 6'2".
he's listed at 6'2". Does he feel like he's 6'2"?
I think he's 6'3", to be honest. Like, he's a guy.
What?
I'm serious. He's not small. He is a tall player. Like,
look, I'm not gonna hate on him unless you go overboard, which is how the full Facu thing started with everyone. Not just with you.
Is it overboard to say that I wouldn't mind if he had to fill in? I would be very intrigued to see what he looked like if he had to fill in for 3 games.
We can't have this. Here's why we can't have this. Because it'll turn into Ish Smith versus Colin Gillespie, and I like
Ish Smith too, though. Like, this is.
I will go to war. I will go to war. I will go to war for Ish Smith over Colin Gillespie. I will go to war over. No, I'm just kidding.
Small guys. Come on, he's good. Wait, I can't wait till we see Colin Gillespie next to Ish Smith. He's got to tower over him.
That's true. I wouldn't mind get him in the G League system if you can. If he doesn't get he may get a better offer, right? I wouldn't mind. I mean, look, if it's Adonis Arms, Matt Mitchell, or Gillespie, I'd rather have Gillespie. Based off of what
I mean, he's just he doesn't have a very high ceiling, I don't think, but he's just so solid, man. I do want to see what he looks like at the NBA level, because the questions I have about him are like, how is he going to guard? Yeah. Like, what's he going to do defensively? And in summer league, that's not as big of an issue, but
it is really interesting in that this, like, and you said this, and Harrison Wynn said this. Tomatin says CG looks like a steal, a Morris replacement. Like, you feel like Morris and Collins' games are approximate?
I feel like they're different players. I didn't say that. I think it was D-Line who said this. I don't think their games are as similar as people think. They're similar in that they're low turnover players, like they're high assist, low turnover guys. But I think they're different in a lot of other ways. So
yeah,
I don't know. I think people are going to get in trouble comparing them too much.
Josh mentions that Gillespie has the 2-way already, so why are we arguing about it? It's a good point. So I don't mind. Yeah, he's on the team. I actually think that it's good that they signed him to a 2-way, because I really want to see. I think he would be really good for the G League team. I think he'll be really good for the G League team, and he can do some spot time in the NBA and see how he develops. I think it's
funny, man. Like, honestly, if you look at last year, you've got Marcus Howard on that 2-way, and this year you have Colin Gillespie. Both are point guards. It's like so clear. Like, to me, it makes so much more sense to have Gillespie there than it does to have Marcus Howard.
I agree with that completely. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back, and we're going to talk about the Donovan Mitchell rumors, as well as Michael Malone talks a little bit about what he's expecting from Jamal Murray in terms of a minutes limit next season. We'll talk about that when we come back on Locked On Nuggets. But first, it's that time, folks. I got to tell you about Built Bar. From the people who invented healthy and tasty comes the latest gift to your taste buds. You've probably tried the amazing Coconut Brownie Chunk Built Bar, but guess what? Your friends at Built Bar have given Coconut Brownie Chunk the Puffs treatment. That's right. Coconut Brownie Chunk Built Bar, the flavor you love, and a deliciously chewy marshmallow covered in 100% real chocolate. It's like a fluffy cloud of coconut brownie goodness. They're good for you too. Low calorie, low sugar, high protein, and all delicious. They're only here for a limited time, so go to Built.com right now to make sure you don't miss out. They're going fast because they taste amazing. All Built Bars are made with collagen protein, which your body absorbs more efficiently and provides tons of health benefits. Eat something that tastes good and is good for you. The best part about Built Puffs, of course, is that they taste amazing, but you can also enjoy them guilt-free because they're actually good for you. They're the perfect treat, whether you've got craving, need to satisfy your sweet tooth, or you need a quick, healthy snack. Delicious coconut, rich, sweet brownie, creamy marshmallow. Get to Built.com to order your box of Coconut Brownie Chunk Built Puffs right now. Go to Built.com and use promo code LOCKED15, LOCKED15, and get 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets, thanks for joining us and making this part of your day and your first listen each and every day. We're free and available on all platforms, including YouTube, where you can join the show and join folks like Tommy and the Black Mamba's back out, hanging out. Maxwell and Jay Childers and Joe Broussard's in here. Lots of folks in the chat. Make sure to join us every day at 10 a.m. Mountain for Locked On Nuggets. Programming note, tomorrow is the last day for me for about a week and a half. I am going on vacation, and Adam is kind enough to fill in for me. This is like, I'm going to try. I need, please, God, just one time can I get through a vacation without a major move. I just need KD
No,
not to get traded.
you know it's not
for
going to
8
happen.
days. Just like 8 days.
Are you talking about Kevin Durant? Are you talking about
Yeah.
DeAndre Ayton? Are you talking about Donovan Mitchell? They're all going to happen next week, probably on Monday.
I can get away with DeAndre Ayton because he's not enough of a needle mover. Like I can talk. I'll have to write like a little bit about the Suns later. But like if Kevin Durant happens, I have to do like the whole thing. I have to do like the podcasts and the videos and the just like one time. Come on, Marks, help me out here. All right. So speaking of Donovan Mitchell, this timeline has been hilarious to me. So they do the Rudy Gobert trade and they take on like 5 picks, and everybody's like, surely you're trading Donovan Mitchell because you did not get any rotation players back. Like you're not, like you got guys that you can play, Malik Beasley, etc., Vando, but you can get starters back, right? Like there's still, like your team has been decimated in terms of its contention ability. You're going to trade Donovan Mitchell, right? And the immediate pushback comes from Jazz Media because they talk to the front office, and the front office is like, no, we want to build around Mitchell. For the longest time, the word has been that Ryan Smith, the owner of the Jazz, loves Mitchell, wants to build around him. It's one of the reasons he brought on like Dwayne Wade, because Dwayne Wade is like a big Mitchell guy, and the idea has been that like Wade will like help like smooth some things out and navigate those waters. And then yesterday, Woj reports, hey, Donovan Mitchell is at least being discussed in trade conversations. Tony Jones over at The Athletic is, I think, balancing this pretty well, which is he's saying like, yeah, they're taking calls. It's still going to be so much for Mitchell that it's unlikely that anyone comes through with an offer, except for the fact that if you need somebody to overpay for a superstar point guard, there's always the New York Knicks. The Knicks have been the most prominently featured name in these conversations. It's them and the Heat don't have the assets, and Danny Ainge hates Pat Riley, and Pat Riley hates Danny Ainge. That's going to make a little bit of a tension, I think, between any sort of conversations, even if it's not, you know, Ainge and Riley negotiating, because it wouldn't be. It would be Andy Ellisberg and Adam Simon in Miami. But even through those conversations, there's always going to be like a desire from the other one to get the best deal out of the other one because of that animosity. So the Knicks still seem to be the favored location. I've heard a number of packages discussed. The 2 names that are involved in all of them are Emmanuel Quickley and Obi Toppin, and then there's one or another name that's included or excluded depending on what the package is, and then obviously
package,
and then definitely a ton of picks.
Yeah.
However, my colleague over at the Action Network, Brandon Anderson, did note that the Knicks have a lot of picks hanging around that aren't top level picks. They have like, yeah, they could send 5 picks, but what if it's like a 20, like a heavily protected, you know, first rounder from some other team that's like likely not to convey for a couple of years and then be a second rounder? Then you get quote unquote 5 picks for him,
yeah.
But you don't actually get like 5 unprotected firsts. If the Knicks send their own picks, that's where this gets bad for the Knicks.
Well, here's the other thing. What matters for Denver, because like, all right, if it's the Knicks, whatever, it's the Eastern Conference, who knows how that's going to work out. I don't really care. What's interesting about it is if you are talking about the guys you said, Quickly and picks, basically, maybe Grimes as well. I really like those guys. I think they're good players, but they're probably not part of a contender for several years. And we talk about the Nuggets title window. Jokic just signed a 5-year extension. I just look at the Nuggets as the next 5 years. After that, who knows? Jokic leaves, retires, whatever. Like, I don't want to think that's a whole new Denver starts a rebuild or something in 5-6 years. But if you talk about Utah getting a bunch of future picks and young players, you're probably talking about a 2 or 3 year rebuild, which is what it just looks like. That's the plan anyway. They signed their coach to a 5-year, the whole Brian Windhorst sketch. What was it about? It was about making a very long-term plan. And if that's the Utah Jazz, I just look at that and I go, perfect. I want as many teams in the Northwest Division making long-term plans to rebuild for several years as possible.
Right. The division is suddenly... It's interesting. So then I want to kind of parlay this into a conversation about the division because the odds, parlay odds, opened up yesterday at DraftKings. The Nuggets are favored to win the division. They're minus 140 to win.
I mean, why is that surprising? The only team I would imagine is Minnesota. Like,
yeah.
It's not going to be Oklahoma City. It's almost certainly not going to be Utah.
I guess I'm surprised that they're a minus number. It's less about that they're favored and more that they're a minus number. Like they're the odds-on favorite.
Yeah.
So like as a comparison point, like a lot of these teams are the favorite, but they're like plus 120, plus 150, whatever. Then you have teams like the Bucks, because they always win the division, are minus 500, right? So the Nuggets are somewhere between those two extremes. So I think it's kind of interesting to look at the idea of like, if the Wolves experiment doesn't work, and if everything doesn't come together perfectly for Portland, like, and this is definitely summer talking right here, but the Nuggets could run away with the division if healthy. Like, that's crazy.
I mean, I don't think it's that crazy when you just talk about where would you rank Minnesota and Portland versus where would you rank Denver out west. Like, we talk about Denver being top 3. We talk about Minnesota and Portland as being like play-in contenders. So I think we all kind of see it that way. I also, the Minnesota one is such a variable because we don't know how well it's going to work. It would have to be a home run for them to chase Denver. And then with Portland, Lillard just had a year where he couldn't play for the entire year. He's 31 or 32. I don't know what he'll be next year. I don't know that it's a lock that he's going to play like 82 healthy games next year. There'll probably be a little bit of ebb and flow with him and some rest days and things like that. So,
is Donovan Mitchell worth what the Knicks are likely to give up for him?
I'm not the biggest Donovan Mitchell guy. He's a really good player, and I think there are environments like when I say I don't love him. Part of this is like I don't love him the way I would love a high-end point guard that I feel is like a floor raiser. He's just you're going to be good, whatever.
Right, Colin Gillespie, right?
He's not Colin Gillespie, but he is like Kyrie in this way, not in any other way, but he is like Kyrie where I could see him if you paired him with Giannis, for example. I feel like he would almost be elite, where Giannis is the do-everything guy, and then you have the elite sort of like scorer guy next to him. I feel like that would work the way Kyrie was next to LeBron. So it's weird to say that in certain roles, he is elite. In most roles, he's not that. I don't trust the Knicks to be able to find the right role for him, but they're kind of bringing him in to be the everything guy. I don't see that.
Man, a lot of this is just I was super high on Donovan 2 years ago, even before the bubble, and then he had the bubble performance, right? But how can I put this? I don't feel like he's been about the right things the last couple of years.
Yeah.
It seems like because of the tension with Rudy and everything that's gone on, that he's moved, like he hasn't been as good of a passer, and he's let slip his defense so much that he's the weak point that they targeted. Like 2 consecutive playoffs, the first one you could say, like in 2021, you could say, oh, well, he was hurt. He had that hamstring. But 2022, the Mavericks were just like, nope, space Rudy out to the corner, and then we're just going to attack Donovan Mitchell over and over and over again. And, like, he has so many physical tools to work with. That's really disappointing. But he definitely seems to be a guy that is getting into that range of superstar where it's like you're focused on a lot of things that aren't necessarily like how to win basketball games. Right. And that, to me, makes it a concerning piece to build around.
I firmly believe Rudy Gobert was the better player of the two, or the more impactful to winning player of the two guys, which I think is funny. But you know what? He'll go to a place where the Knicks, where he'll probably be the clear number one guy. So we'll see what happens.
He'll put up numbers, but winning games is different. So we'll see what it looks like.
Brunson and him as a defensive backcourt is pretty hilarious, though. I have to say.
Yeah, that's a very much emoji. So Michael Malone talks about Jamal Murray yesterday and mentions that Murray is likely to start out the season around 20 minutes per game. Not surprising, I don't think. I think you have to be real careful with given how his recovery went, they're going to have to be careful with it. I don't know what that means in terms of Malone and the combination of Malone, who wants to win every game, and Murray, who wants to compete every single minute, could be difficult for keeping him to that 20-minute restriction. And look, if he comes into camp and it's like he's recovering well and everything's going great, but I think you still got to be a little bit patient with him. And I think it's fine if he's playing 20 minutes a game to start the season. They have enough depth. They have enough talent. Knock on wood, if they don't get hit with early injuries, which they have so much. If that's the case, then I think you can get away with playing Murray at that minutes limit. The question is, as always, is going to be that trickle-down effect. If they wind up getting hit with injuries, if Bowen sprains an ankle and it's like, okay, we going to need to play Murray a little bit more, that's when things start to go a little bit off the rails there. But in general, I think it's probably good that at least the expectation is that they're going to stick to this. I do have a hard time kind of buying into this, though, Adam, because I've just heard from Malone so many times in the offseason over the summers about managing minutes, and then it doesn't happen in the regular season. For whatever reason, whether it's injuries or the circumstances of how they start or whatever, I don't hear that a lot. And I know that this is dictated by the training staff, but I'm just a little skeptical. You're going to have to show me you'll limit the minutes for me to kind of believe it 100%.
Who? It's funny because I always go back. I've told the story a lot, but I feel like the Nuggets starting 1-4 is the reason Hartenstein didn't work out here, because Malone, after 5 games, went into sort of panic mode, and sort of rightfully so. Like, the West is so good, you can't afford like an extended losing streak, and it textured the way that entire season went. A couple years back. I look at the Murray situation somewhat similar. Like, if Denver is 1-4 to start the season, Malone's going to go into panic mode. I need more minutes, or maybe it's less minutes from Murray. If Murray's not playing well, maybe it goes the other direction. But I do feel like there is this. This is an area where Jokic can show leadership, almost, in that I need to set the table early. Like, if Jokic were to like look at how to spend his energy throughout the year, a lot of energy early on, first like 6 weeks. Carry the team to a good record so that Malone doesn't feel the need to overextend Jamal, so that the team feels comfortable. Michael Porter gets his legs under him. The rotation works out, all the new guys. And then hopefully you get to a point in maybe mid-November or late November where you can not coast, but you can focus, maybe then like the team is good enough and confident enough in a place where you're not needed as much. But I do wonder if there's going to be we need a lot from you early on just to give us a good cushion. Can we start 10-2? To be able to say, like, okay, we can afford now to do things the right way.
Yeah, just Jonathan echoes your thoughts here. Need to follow the Dubs framework, the Warriors' insanely hot start, then take the foot off the gas and make sure everyone is healthy by April. I think that's absolutely a point.
Right? I think they started 9-1.
Yeah, they were the best team. They were tied with the Suns for the best team in the league on December 1st. So I think that formula is great. I think that works perfectly.
I agree.
That's like and the thing I'd say to pitch it to Jokic, hey buddy, if you take off in January and February, no one will talk about you for MVP, and you won't have to deal with all these annoying conversations the rest of the way.
Perfect.
So
perfect.
That's the thing. Just take a little bit off and let MPJ go off in January and February. That's MPJ time is January and February if he's back in 100%. Joe says they've got so much chemistry to learn. I'm saying slow start. I don't know if I believe that. So the guys that they have, AG knows how to play with Jokic. Jamal's a really high guard that plays like most of the guards these guys have always played with. Like, Jamal's style is not hard to adjust to, and Jokic, they've gotten guys that know how to play around Jokic. So, like, I don't know that the chemistry is going to, the bench chemistry maybe is going to be an issue, but to be quite honest with you, it was so bad last year. I don't know, like, that's such a low floor to get over. I think it almost has to be better. And so I don't know. Like, I don't necessarily know that there's a lot of chemistry stuff that I'm worried about with this team. I don't know that there's going to be a lot of like figuring. Maybe KCP, Gordon, and MPJ have some stuff to figure out in terms of the spacing and how they're going to navigate that. Like, I am wondering like how, like, someone's going to have to be cutting pretty consistently in those situations, and it needs to be AG, but some of that I think is kind of complicated, but I don't know that I'm necessarily worried about the chemistry on court in terms of the basketball stuff next year. Do you? Are you?
The second unit, maybe. The first unit, no. Like, Murray and Jokic have so many reps together, and their games fit like peanut butter and jelly, that I just don't think there's going to be a long runway for them. I also think it'll be an interesting experiment because Jokic is going to be coming off of Eurobasket, so it's not like he'll be like super well rested coming into the season. I wonder if you remember last year when he had his child, he didn't come to he basically skipped training camp. And so I do wonder if there will be a similar thing where like he's coming off Eurobasket and the Nuggets are like, hey, don't participate in training camp. Just stay off your legs. It's a long season. If that's the case, then I could maybe see it a little bit. But I don't know. There's as much as I agree that the chemistry will have to be developed to some extent, I also just think they're really good. And Jokic is really good. And I'm curious to see, like I said, if he can carry them for 10 games and then the chemistry's there. I
like that we're so positive right now. That's good. That's good.
Positive,
after free agency and summer league, things are feeling positive. That's a plus. All right, let's go wrap it up for Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us and making this part of your day. Appreciate it, guys. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Give us those 5-star reviews wherever you get podcasts. Really appreciate those. Those help us out a ton with getting the word out about us.
So help us up. It's the easiest way you can support the show.
Yeah, either that or The YouTube channel. Both of them, really, honestly. Best way is YouTube. Easiest way is the 5 stars. There you go. That's the way we'll hook that. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Have yourselves a great week. We'll see you guys again tomorrow with another